Hey, it's Matty at mixandmastermysong.com. I recently got back from AES in New York. It was an awesome experience. Got to see a bunch of new gear and stuff that's coming out, from all the different companies. And something that struck my eye was the stuff that IK Multimedia was putting out. They got a bunch of new plugins. They got a whole new T-RackS 5 plugin bundle coming out, and there's some really cool stuff. So I was able to get the software from the website and just start checking it out, and I was kind of blown away by a lot of it. So I thought it'd be making for a good video to show you guys just some of the new stuff they've come out with. And honestly, I wasn't 100% familiar with all the stuff they've been coming out with over the last few years. Some really great emulations of Neve 1073, the Neve 33609, awesome SSL style bus compressor they got. So tons of cool stuff, and they even came out with a Varimu, kind of like a Manley Varimu sounding compressor this month too on this new release. So let's check it out. I'll show you some of the different things, and one of the coolest features that I think any plugin company has used for all their plugins. So let's jump in. So the first thing of the new plugins they got here is this Dynam, which is a Varimu kind of style compressor. But on this and all of their plugins, if you look at also the bus compressor, which I got over here, they have, this is the coolest thing in the world. They have left and right, which you usually get for a stereo. This is a stereo track from artist Meekins, one of his newer songs called Slow Down. He always lets me use this stuff, and so I got to give him his props. But this is one of their compressors. The EQs have the same thing. They have, it's a left-right, which is usually linked on all plugins. But the difference here is you can hit the left and right and unlink them so that you can compress the left side differently than the right side. Or what I like to do is just have them unlinked so the left and the right side compress differently. Depending on the way the music's reacting. And that can be really helpful, not so much always on a stereo master, but maybe a bus you have, or instrument that's like a piano where the right side or the left side plays a little louder sometimes. I always like to be able to unlink the sides so that, if the low end side of the piano, like the left side for instance, is getting louder, it will compress that side a little more, but while leaving the right side maybe uncompressed so that, the sound just works better. And so I really dig that. And then the MS is awesome. And it's not just on the compressors, the EQs. Every plugin that they got has this. So it's so cool. So this stereo bus compressor is awesome. I've been using it on drums a lot, on to smash my drums, parallel the drums. Another huge thing that for me, especially because I do a lot of bass heavy music, is the sidechain here, which you can do 60 hertz, 150 hertz. That way the kicks, the 808s aren't taking up all the compression. So big props on that, and not to mention they sound amazing. So they have the SSL style one. They got a Neve 1073 here. See if it opens up. Yeah, there. And you can even distort the snares or the kick or whatever you want with the input gain, and it's got this, the basic EQs. It's like a 1073, and it sounds great, man. These sound really good. So that's the basis of all, and they got tons of stuff, API stuff, all kinds of stuff. Now, on to the newer stuff. Like I said, they have a Varimu. I honestly don't use Varimu compressors that much, just because, in my opinion, they don't always react well to bassy things. But that being said, they're great on acoustic stuff. I'll use them on pianos a lot. More acoustic music I want kind of a warmer sound. They're great for that. But and this sounds fantastic, just like the Manley. But the new stuff are these three kind of plugins. And the first one is the one that kind of blew me away when they were showing me at AES, is this. And it's basically, it's just like a mastering plugin, if you will. And it's a great way to get a rough master, or I've even mastered a couple songs in the last week where I used elements of this, like the body and the focus, along with all the other mastering tools, be it outside the box or inside the box with some of my analog stuff. And it's awesome, just adds a lot of stuff that you can do. So let's check it out. Enough of me talking about it. So basically you got air, which is the high end, the high frequency spectrum. Focus, more mid-rangey stuff. Body is warmth in the lower end, but they also have this bass punch, which gives you a little more bass punch, but also tightens up the low end. So you're not just boosting low end, it's tightening up the low end while giving you more punch. So it's basically, if I had to guess, was filtering the sub harmonic, the sub lows, and boosting the like 100 hertz area. Maybe kind of like a Pultec. If you do on Pultecs, you can boost and cut at the same time, and it makes a really great effects. I'm assuming it's kind of something like that. Could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like. They have this width, which is what it is, makes things wider. Analog gives it a little more flavor. And this transients thing is awesome. It really can bring out transients on smashed mixes. A lot of times I'll get masters that have already been gone through a limiter, and there's nothing they can do. All they got is that master. They want to make it sound better. This thing's great for that. It can bring some of the transients back from something that's been slammed by a limiter. So all this stuff's really cool. And then the push is basically a compressor with all the threshold and ratio set already, and the volume is a limiter from what I can understand. So check this out though. We'll just play with it for a minute.
Depressive thoughts that bring me to want me to ball. Now the smoke clears.
Let's see if we get this.
Yeah, she says she wanna. 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 Yeah, she says she.
So it's great. It adds some air, but it's not too harsh.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
And then the focus a little more mid.
Yeah, she says she wanna. 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 Yeah, she say.
So it's awesome. Just with those two, I mean, we've already kind of brought a lot of the mix, the master out.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
So that bass punch is cool. It's a little much now, but we'll bring it back down. Just adds a little extra punch to the low end.
Yeah, she says she wanna. 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 Yeah.
The width is great. And then the transients, this is probably one of my favorite knobs on this thing.
Yeah, she says she wanna. 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 Yeah, she say let's go slow. Yeah, go slow. Yeah, go slow. She said go slow. Go slow. She said go.
That's great. You hear like the kick and the snare just all come popping through with this. You gotta be careful with this because it could just, push your speakers a little too far, but this knob's so cool. Really dig that. And then you get the compression.
Yeah, she says she wants.
And you can see your gain reduction comes up here.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
Also gives you volume boost. And then the limiter, which is another kind of form of volume.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says.
So really amazing all you can do with just these simple knobs. I mean, you can make a really quality rough master for a client in about 4 minutes with this thing. It also has a bunch of presets that you could try using too, but it's so easy just to tweak a couple knobs and it sounds better right away. So big ups on that. I really dig that plugin a lot. The second thing, which is kind of different and really cool, is this master match, which what this does is you can take a reference song that you like that's kind of close to your mix and use the kind of the same EQ curve so that it matches, like the bass and the high end of one song with your song and gives it that same kind of sound. I've always been a little skeptical of these kind of things, but the cool thing about this one is you got 3 different references you can use. So you can use the chorus from one song, the verse from another song, and the bridge from another song, and use them all and mix match them into your song, which was really cool. And we tried it. We'll do it right now. I have this song by Common, which I felt was kind of like the same thing as this song we're doing with Cam, same kind of style. I'm not going to play it just for YouTube people so we don't get flagged. But basically you load the song in, you loop it, and you hit learn reference. And that's kind of the EQ curve of just that section. So you can tell it which section you want it to loop. And that gives us the EQ curve. And then you play your mix. And click learn.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
And it just says it's learning the process right now.
She says she wanna.
And they say, you know, the longer you do it, the more it can kind of get a vibe for the actual EQ curve of your song. So we're just gonna play the chorus. And then when you're done, just hit stop on the curve. And then now it's matched it. So those are the two different EQ curves for the song. This one being the common one, and this one being the Cam song. So now that this is when the magic happens, I'll hit play while I do this. You hit match, and it's going to take the EQ curves and kind of blend them together to get more, sounding more like the common song. So here we go.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah.
So there, I brought the volume up, and the EQ curve is what it is now. So,
yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
Pretty crazy difference, huh? And even just turning the level down so we get a little more of a level match.
Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna. Yeah, she says she wanna.
It's pretty crazy, huh? So this thing's pretty cool. You know, there's a lot of different uses you could use for it, and I might actually start using it a bit more when I'm trying to get, you know, the sound of a certain artist. When a client wants it to sound like a certain album, it's a good starting point maybe. The other great thing about it is you can actually change the curve here. You can go in and fine tune things from the curve points, and you know, if it's, say it brought too many mids down, we can bring it up here, and then you can also kind of make the whole thing greater or less of the actual curve. So as skeptical as I kind of was, this thing's actually pretty cool and incredible, and could be really useful, just as the one plugin is, as doing some quick master. If you have a song that's kind of like your song, just do that. It took us, you know, 2 seconds to do. So pretty incredible new technology. So the last thing is this equal, which is another EQ, and it's basically, I'll click on one of the things. You can click wherever you want to create EQ curves, and I don't know how many you can make, but it seems like quite a few. And then it's got different shelves from, so you got different shapes of your band. So like, let's say, let's see if we can start over here. Let's just do this as a shelf here, right? And we'll get rid of these. Boom, boom. I shouldn't have clicked so many of these. Let's do the shelf. So the shelf is, there's our standard shelf. And then you can also use, so what they have is they have the different shapes of the different kind of EQ styles. SSL, UK Classic is probably a Neve. And then they have T-RackS Classic, USA Classic, API. And so you can switch the different kinds of shelf shapes or whatever shape that these companies use, and mix and match them. So you can have, you know, an SSL one here, and then a low, you know, a low shelf right here with more of a, I guess it only lets me do that one there, with a API sound. You know what I mean? So it's kind of messy the way I'm doing this, but really cool kind of plug-in. And it's also got a spectrum analyzer, so you can, you know, see what frequencies are going on and so forth. So I dig that as well. But really the standouts for me was the T-RackS 5 and the Master Match, which I thought were both really cool. So definitely check these out, man. There's so many plugins, and it's pretty cheap. It's like $300 for all of these, I believe. It's got an old mastering EQ. I can't remember the name of this thing in the real world, but it sounds amazing. I actually used this a couple of years ago when they first get it out. They got a mic room, saturation. I mean, on and on and on. Like, this list is kind of crazy for the price that they give. So definitely check these out. It was one of the standout things I saw at AES. And if you got any questions, you know, make sure to hit them back in the comments down below. And if you need your songs mixed and mastered, check us out at mixandmastermysong.com. Thanks.